US President Joe Biden has called for a ceasefire in Ethiopia's Tigray region, saying that human rights abuses must end. He said Eritrean troops and Amhara militiamen, both supporting the Ethiopian Federal Army, must withdraw from the area and that immediate humanitarian access must be granted to avoid widespread famine. It follows conclusions by the US Senate Foreign Relations Committee, who said the carnage in Tigray appears to be an intentional and coordinated campaign of destruction that could amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. Let's speak now to Meaza Gidey, an international relations researcher in the US and a Tigrayan human rights activist. Being Tigrayan yourself, Meaza, what's your reaction to the statement from President Joe Biden?
We appreciate the statement President Biden made yesterday, but at the same time, we want to continue to call for an immediate action because if we have learned anything in the past 7 months, the Ethiopian government, alongside its crony in Eritrea, are not governments that adhere to international norms as well as diplomacy. So if the U.S. is truly determined to saving the innocent lives that are being exterminated in the dark, then it's very necessary that the U.S. government acts on its promises and takes concrete steps going forward.
What kind of concrete steps are you talking about? Because the U.S. Special Envoy for the Horn of Africa will be going back to Ethiopia again next week to try and reinforce this message. What would you like him to say and do?
First of all, we would like to see a strict deadline as to when the Eritrean troops and the Amhara militias are supposed to withdraw from Tigray, because the U.S. government at multiple incidents has been calling on these forces to withdraw from Tigray. However, these calls have been, falling onto deaf ears. So I expect the envoy, once they get to Addis, to give, a deadline to the Ethiopian government to make sure that this genocidal forces are withdrawn from Tigray. But at the same time, I hope and I expect the envoy to also, make sure that the Ethiopian National Army are withdrawn from Tigray, because it's also them that are committing the grave human rights violation that amount to war crimes.
Meaza, why do you think this Tigrayan crisis matters to the U.S.?
It matters to the U.S. because, first of all, the war crimes that are being committed on the people of Tigray are crimes that are called for international intervention, because these are genocidal acts, and the U.S. has a responsibility to protect innocent lives as a member of the UN Security Council. But in addition to that, Ethiopia is a very important country, and the chaos and instability of Ethiopia could have a far-reaching impact on the peace and security of the Horn of Africa. And knowing that the U.S. is still leading the fight against terrorism, it's very important that the U.S. makes sure Ethiopia is stable. And Ethiopia cannot be stable if one of its nationals are being exterminated.
Okay, I mean, like I said earlier on, you're Tigrayan yourself. You left the region just 2 years ago to study in the U.S., and you've still got family there. What do you think the most urgent thing to do right now is for the region?
The most urgent thing to do is cessation of hostilities. The hostilities need to stop, and in addition to that, there needs to be unfettered humanitarian access to Tigray, because as reports from the UN indicate, 5.2 million people are facing a man-made famine, and people are dying left and right. My family members could be right now.
I'm afraid we'll have to leave it there, but thank you very much. Meaza Gidey there speaking to me from the US. Thank you very much. Now, in these challenging times with the current COVID-19 pandemic